In the bosom of one of those spacious coves along the eastern shore of the Hudson, there lies a small lap of land, which is one of the quietest places in the whole world. This sequestered glen has long been known as Sleepy Hollow. The place continues under the sway of some bewitching power. The dominant haunting spirit is the apparition of a figure on horseback without a head. This legendary specter is known by the name of the Headless Horseman of Sleepy Hollow. In this byplace of nature lived a tall, lanky schoolmaster. He had huge ears, large green glassy eyes, a long snipe nose, and feet that might have served as shovels. This worthy wight went by the name of Ichabod Crane. Master was also a voluminous reader, especially in the subject of witchcraft, in which he most firmly and potently believed. After school, as evening gathered, he often wended his way to his farmhouse. At that witching hour, every sound of nature fluttered his excited imagination. The moan of the whippoorwill, the boding of the tree toad, or the dreary hooting of the screech owl. He was convinced that a rushing blast howling among the trees was indeed the galloping horseman. Resource was to sing psalm tunes, and the good people of Sleepy Hollow often heard his nasal melody floating from the distant hill. All these, however, were mere terrors of the night. His path was soon to be crossed by a being that causes more perplexity to mortal man than ghosts, goblins, and the whole race of witches put together. And that was a woman. Among Ichabod's musical disciples was Katrina Van Tassel, the daughter and only child of a substantial Dutch farmer, old Baltus Van Tassel. Katrina was a blooming lass of fresh 18, universally famed for her beauty and her vast expectations. From the moment Ichabod laid eyes upon Katrina and her paternal mansion, his only study was how to gain the affections of the peerless daughter of Van Tassel. In the enterprise of gaining her affections, however, Ichabod had a formidable rival, a burly, roaring, roistering blade named Brom Bones. Gradually arose between Brom Bones and the preceptor of Sleepy Hollow. On a fine autumnal afternoon, an invitation came to Ichabod to attend a merrymaking to be held that evening at the Van Tassels. The gallant Ichabod now spent an extra half hour getting ready. He borrowed a broken-down plow horse with a ewe-neck and a head like a hammer. One eye had lost its pupil, but the other had the gleam of a genuine devil in it. Still, it bore the name of Gunpowder, and Ichabod was a suitable figure for such a gaunt and shagged steed. It was toward evening that Ichabod arrived at the castle of Herr Van Tassel. Brom Bones, however, was the hero of the scene, having come to the gathering on his favorite steed, Daredevil, a creature like himself full of mettle and mischief. In time, the sound of music, played by an old gray-headed and battered musician, summoned to the dance. The revel now gradually broke up. Ichabod only lingered behind to have a tete-a-tete with the heiress, fully convinced that he was now on the high road to success. After the interview, however, Ichabod stole forth with the air of one who had been sacking a hen roost rather than a fair lady's heart. 'Twas the very witching time of night that Ichabod, heavy-hearted and crestfallen, pursued his travel homewards. No signs of life occurred near him, and he was approaching the very place where many scenes of ghost stories had been laid. In the center of the road stood an enormous tulip tree with gnarled and fantastic limbs. As Ichabod approached this fearful tree, he began to whistle. He thought his whistle was answered. It was but a blast sweeping through the dry branches. He passed the tree in safety, but new perils lay before him. His heart began to thump. Upon approaching a nearby stream, he beheld something huge, misshapen, black and towering, a gigantic monster ready to spring upon the traveler. Ichabod broke forth with an involuntary fervor into a psalm tune, but the shadowy object put itself in motion and stood at once in the middle of the road. He appeared to be a horseman of large dimensions and mounted on a black horse of powerful frame. Ichabod was horror-struck on perceiving that his fellow traveler was headless. The head, which should have rested on his shoulders, was carried before him on the pommel of his saddle. Ichabod rained a shower of kicks and blows upon Gunpowder, hoping to give his companion the slip, but the specter started full jump with him. Saw the goblin rising in his stirrups, and in the very act of hurling his head at him. Ichabod endeavored to dodge the horrible missile, but too late! It encountered his cranium with a tremendous crash. He was tumbled headlong into the dust, and his horse Gunpowder and the black steed and goblin rider passed by like a whirlwind. The next morning, the old horse was found without his saddle, soberly cropping the grass at his master's gate. Ichabod did not make an appearance at breakfast. Dinner hour came, but no Ichabod. On the bank of a broad part of the brook was found the hat of the unfortunate Ichabod, and close beside it, a shattered pumpkin. The brook was searched, but the body of the schoolmaster was never to be discovered. After much speculation, the gossipers had concluded that Ichabod had been carried off by the headless horseman. Brom Bones, too, who shortly thereafter conducted the blooming Katrina in triumph to the altar, was observed to look exceedingly knowing whenever the story of Ichabod was related. The bridge became more than ever an object of superstitious awe, and the road was altered so as to approach the church by the border of the mill pond. The deserted schoolhouse soon fell to decay and was reported to be haunted by the ghost of the unfortunate pedagogue. And the plowboy on a still summer evening has often fancied his voice at a distance, chanting a melancholy psalm tune among the tranquil solitudes of Sleepy Hollow.